anytime you go and attend an event, there is always undoubtedly someone that is behind the scenes pulling all the puppet strings, making sure that the event can happen. And if they're not doing their job right, well, then the event either doesn't happen or just doesn't happen very well. Now, in the case of night owl shows, I had the recent pleasure of being a hired gun, a part of one of their shows called The Look of Dusty, which was a tribute to Dusty Springfield, and that was a part of the Adelaide Fringe Festival. And while I was involved, I had the great opportunity of seeing how the head honcho, Dan, handles things. And I got to say that it was great having an opportunity to chat with him because the guy's a busy guy. There's a lot of shows that these guys do. But yeah, I'll let him tell you more about it. If you are involved in any way in organising events or organising a band, organising yourself as a solo act, whatever it is, check out what this guy has to say. I guarantee you it'll be helpful. All right, Dan, thanks for your time, mate. I can't believe that you do actually have time right now.
I have all the time in the world right now, but 2 days ago I did not.
Yeah, so if you could just describe a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do here for the Adelaide Fringe, but also I guess just what you do sort of in general.
So I'm director of Night Owl Shows, and Night Owl Shows are a theatre group that put on music shows, telling the backstory and really trying to deliver really heartfelt renditions of the music of the greatest legends in the history of music. So people like Carole King and James Taylor, Joni Mitchell, and we do a lot of shows. So we've got 13 here at Adelaide Fringe.
How does somebody get involved in something quite so grand?
Yeah, by accident.
Oops!
So
That's always the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're called Night Owl Shows because after every show, someone would come up to me and say, "You sound a bit like James Taylor." And I kind of started to put an idea in my head that maybe I should do a show of the music of James Taylor. And actually, quite a funny story because I then phoned up quite a large agency, and I said, "By the way, mate, I've got a voice that sounds like James Taylor apparently, so I wondered if you might want to put on a show." And he was this guy who was very down to earth, shall we say. He was like, "Listen, mate, I don't know who James Taylor is," and pretty much hung up the phone on me. So I shelved that idea for a while, but then I did actually get approached by someone who wanted to put a tour together. Then I had to create a show around his life and telling the story, trying to create a lot of the backstory behind his songs. And I found out that he played in the venue called the Night Owl when he was in New York, and that's how we got a company name. When he was very much at the beginning of his career, his first professional gig was the Night Owl in 1967 in Greenwich Village. So that's how it all started. Just me singing a few James Taylor songs, and 25 people might turn up, and I'll be happy with that.
And so, how long ago was that? And did you ever think that this could be straight to the Adelaide Fringe?
Well, it happened pretty rapidly. It was about 2017 when this was beginning, and we went to Edinburgh Fringe, and I was working with another company. We put on 9 shows that year, and I was able to really get a real grasp of how Edinburgh works, and I felt that there was a really big opening for this kind of show there. So the following year I produced 2 other shows, and we staged 69 shows in the 3 weeks. That was my big risk. I put my own money in, and it was like, I basically took a punt, but I felt like I really knew that it was going to work. I spent a week just walking every corner of Edinburgh Fringe, which is the biggest fringe, and it's the biggest art festival in the world, and it sells, it's the second biggest ticket selling event in the world, second to the Olympics. That's a huge event.
Right.
And I just felt like there was so much of a great opportunity there. And like I say, I walked every corner, and I worked out how we could really bring these shows to that festival. And we managed to get 3 really successful runs together. And then the following year, we put 7 shows in that same arena. And then the following year, we went up to 10. So that's 230 shows in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then we just did 260, and we're going to go 290 in August. That's a lot of shows, and it's a very big logistical operation. And we have a team, very tight-knit team, and we all play in various different shows. everyone's pretty much on their limit, including me. I put myself in as many shows as I expected to be in. So if I can't do it, then I don't expect anyone else to do it. So yeah.
My brain's trying to figure out how it actually all works.
Really
How
hard
do
to-
you
Yeah.
logistify that? Is that a word?
Lots of spreadsheets.
Right.
But we have a timetable, and I can see where, right, this musician's here, but there's a crossover there, then they can move to there, then they get a nice break. And once you get into that flow, and when you're doing that on a daily basis, it becomes a rhythm.
And I guess you being a musician probably doesn't hurt with understanding what a musician that you're hiring is going to have to go through.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I really do approach it as a member of the team. And when we're playing in a band, I am not the boss. When I'm playing in the band, I am second fiddle to the MD in that show, and I will take direction.
Yeah.
And so I have to wear many hats, and sometimes it confuses a lot of people that work for me.
I'm Johnny Two Hats.
We were such a good team, and everyone's kind of learned that, okay, so this is Dan in the band, so he's played the wrong chord, so I'm going to tell him. And then sometimes there's points when I'm actually having to make bigger calls over on the overall operation of everything, you know.
Yeah, just being, I guess, very communicative about which hat you're wearing at that time.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying some hats, maybe, just like you said, a different one. But yeah, we've just done a run of 33 shows over the Regal Theatre in Burnside and Adelaide. That was a really nice run, which you took part in as well, and did a really successful 3 Dusty Springfield shows, which you did a great job on. And that was one of 11 productions that we put in to the Regal. So we did 3 of each production, just 3 shows every production. And then again, we did a Billy Joel, we did Elton John, Sting and the Police, James Taylor and Carole King single show, California Dreams, Dolly Parton, Carpenters, 007 Voices of Bond. I can't remember what I've missed now. I've missed something. Oh God, there's 2 more.
We'll put it on the screen.
I should probably have a list in front of me.
What would a standard day for Dan look like versus, say, a standard day for one of you musicians, for instance?
You know, I'm not in as many shows as a musician, so I'm definitely taking care of admin. So what I tend to do is we'll run the day. If I'm in the show, I'll be obviously part of the band, and then it's basically when everyone gets home, that's when I get my computer out and I'll kind of work till kind of quite early hours, because then I can communicate with England, because time differences and stuff.
Yeah.
So my kind of admin and office day starting after the shows tends to be starting after the shows, yeah.
I guess that's quite handy that you can juggle the lives in that way. What's your life at home, and what are you leaving and trying to juggle while you're away, and how do you go with that?
That is a juggle. So I've been here for 5.5 weeks. My amazing wife has been looking after things at home with our 2 lovely children.
Yeah.
Then I'll be back. But then when I'm home, I'm very much like, I'm hands-on dad, live-at-home dad almost. Then I'll go off for like 3 weeks in May, and then we'll do a month in August, and then probably another couple of weeks in November or something. But that's my time away. So I think I do balance it pretty well. Make sure I'm really present for family. You know, it's important to me to be a very present dad. So when I'm there, I'm very, very much a big part of everyone's lives, I hope.
I find as a full-time musician that word balance comes up so regularly.
Yeah.
And for you as a person, how do you find that you tackle that, and what are the challenges, and what are your strengths to being able to balance?
I think it's important to try and find some other interest in life, you know, that's not just music, because music is your hobby. Most musicians, it's their hobby as well as their career and their job. So I think you can find some other really important sort of activity that you love to do, then it can reignite that passion in the music, because it can sometimes become a chore, and that's a danger, and that's something we want to avoid, because you make the best music when you're enjoying it as well. So.
Yeah, I bought a house a number of years ago, and then found it very bizarre that all of a sudden I really got into gardening and doing home renovations and things.
Definitely.
What's your hobby?
I like to cycle. Yeah, definitely.
I like riding the 10-speed because it's fun, gives me energy, and it's a great way to stay in shape.
And I also play field hockey. I think it's good to keep active, and because again, music is a lot of people that do music do not engage in sport, and I think that's it's good to try and like keep active as well, because it keeps your brain healthy, and actually you've got to have everything right in here to create the best music. So, yeah.
That is true. I felt like that my last day, the third Dusty show, was the best for me for a few reasons. One was that I was the most familiar with the songs by that stage, but I didn't have a gig late the night before, so I was able to actually get a good rest, and it's such a difference, chalk and cheese.
Totally, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference for sure.
You deal with a bunch of different people. In your position, you obviously have to deal with, you've got a team of whether they're musicians or whether they're people that help with logistics, but you've also got venues and punters and all of that. What is the key to being able to have everything work?
Yeah, I guess it's just listening to everyone's viewpoint and being open to what everyone's saying. You don't get it right every time, and sometimes you need to adjust what you're doing, because if you get it wrong 3 times in a row, then that starts becoming a problem.
Yeah.
No, I really listen to audience feedback, and I really listen to performer feedback. Really try and tune into my performance and how they're feeling as well, and try and understand best way to kind of make them feel relaxed. That can be a huge difference in a show. The lead performer is in the right place. That's everything in a show. That's a really big priority for me. Making sure everyone's eating healthily, and dealing with the venues is that kind of is almost the third thing. So I think probably performers are my priority, audience my second priority, and the venues kind of come after that. You can find your arena. You're looking after those 2 important sides of things.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because if the performers are happy, well, then the audience will be happy, and then if all of those are happy, well, then the venue surely should probably be happy, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's a long game as well, because you kind of early in your career you have to make your own investments, and then as you establish yourself more, or if you establish a business more, the risk is less.
So that's a great segue to a question, in that if someone was starting out, what would your advice be to them? You mentioned that you took a punt on that, and having to invest. I guess you got to put your money where your mouth is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you do, but I would also say be really very careful. Don't just invest for the sake of investing, because you have to have something that's working before you do that. You have to know you've got an avenue. And I would say my main advice I would give to anyone that's starting out is don't try and follow somebody else's path, because that path is done. They've done it already. That's it. You need to find your own path. Now, my path was quite a random one. I sounded like James Taylor. I created a company called 9 Hour Shows, and suddenly we're putting on best part 450 shows a year over. So that was my path. I always like to relate things back to the artist Passenger. He's a really interesting case study. He built his whole product through busking in Australia and busking in the UK, and that was his path. He didn't go through major labels. That was how he found his audience. He was doing well out of that before he got really big, and like I say, that was his path. I remember because I toured with him and we chatted about it, and it always sort of stuck with me, because I was like, he found a different path. He wasn't trying to bang on the doors of the major labels trying to get a record deal and expecting the world to unfold for him. He found his own little niche. So I think it's trying to find your niche, and then if you've got a niche and it's working, then there's ways you can finance that. It doesn't have to be your money, because you can find ways of Arts Council funding or other ways of finding funding if you want. It's just because it is accessible, but you have to be very, very kind of tactical about it, business minded.
First thing that pops into your head, top greatest moment in the whole entire Night Owl shows.
Oh, geez. All right. There's been so many great moments. I mean, I do love being at Edinburgh Fringe. It's really special because we have such an impact up there. We sell tens of thousands of tickets. That's wonderful. And then we tour the US now. So there's been some amazing shows in the US. I'd say probably we played a festival called the Bear Valley Music Festival back in 2019 when we were their biggest selling opening night. Then we played this beautiful show in the high Sierra Mountains of California.
Yeah.
And I played to the guy that invented GPS and one of the co-founders of Netflix. And everyone was so intelligent, and they were quite an old group, and we got chatting to a lot of them when we were there, and they were just so wise that it was a lovely thing to do. I think that probably is my top moment. Yeah. So
with that, the worst moment?
Oh man, there have been some, and I probably can't really mention them. There really have been some absolutely really unnerving points. What I will say is we generally are able to tackle most of the curveballs that get thrown at us because we have a really good team and everyone rallies. And so those bad moments we tend to address. I don't think we've had complete catastrophe yet.
Yeah.
But we've come pretty close.
I heard a saying recently which has really stuck with me, and I tell all my students this, and I mention it on this channel, that you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Like there is not really a lose, like it's a win-win, you know, because they can be profound learnings that make us stronger, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the biggest downfalls are often the things that make you grow most. So yeah, I'd say so. Like what really began all of this was me. I got so far with my own music, but it's pretty tough. It's a tough world to exist in. And then I was like, I just need to try something different. And that's how this whole thing formed.
Right.
Yeah, quite a lot can grow out of failure.
Well, I don't know how you're going to make it in this business if you can't take it.
So, last question. You mentioned that you've got some stuff happening at the Edinburgh Fringe. What's the future for Night Owl shows and Dan?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is get to a stage where we can put on a show about an artist we love and quality seal of Night Owl sells the ticket. That's what I'd love to do. So we can really start to pick some more niche artists. People like, oh, I don't know who that is, but that sounds like someone I should learn about. Or, you know, so you can really do that, a bit more of that, and it would be nice to really start to find a ways to support people's sort of individual music as well. You know, original music is where I began, and it kind of I set this whole thing up really with a view to push that. You know, I was like thinking, oh, maybe I could sell some CDs off the back of this. I've sold more CDs off the back of Night Owl than I have anything else.
Yeah.
But maybe finding a way of using the amazing access to an audience to help some of our cast sell their own music and also do the same for mine.
Great. Well, mate, I can't believe that I was able to tackle you down with all of the things that
you caught me on a chill day for sure. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I've got a pack to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there is quite a lot of packing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's my day.
And you've left the couple of shows that are left here in the Adelaide Fringe in very capable hands.
Yes, the man Noah who you've worked with, he's pretty on it, so he'll be taking care of things on the ground, and then the shows themselves, fronted by Rainbow. She's just such a brilliant performer. So she'll be doing Blondie Story and the Back to Black music of Amy Winehouse for the next 5 days until Sunday in Gluttony, and we had a show last night, got to a great start. So.
Yeah. Good on you, Dan. Thank you so much again for having a chat with me. And I can't believe that you actually had time to be able to have a chat because, mate, you were definitely one busy boy during the Fringe Festival. And it makes sense because all of your shows did really well. And like I said, somebody has to do all of that stuff. And you did it with flying colours. Well done, mate. Now, I hope that you yourself watching this video got something out of it, just like what I did, and I hope that there's something else here on the Crafty Music Tips YouTube channel that can be of help for you, because there is a wide range of different music tips related videos, so go check out one that may be helpful. Now stay tuned for the last part 4 of this series. It's actually going to be on yours truly. We've talked to the sound guy, we've talked to the touring musos, we've talked to the head honcho in this video, and I thought that being that it is the Crafty Music Tips YouTube channel, that the part 4 will be on me. What it was like for me to go through the process of jumping on this particular show. So stay tuned for that in the part 4. Just remember that whatever it is that you're doing musically, that you don't have to do every single thing right now. Just do the next thing. We'll see you soon. Cheers.